just thought of this topic today. I called it, and then your aunt walks in, okay? Because I don't know what else to call it, all right? So if you guys have any ideas in the chat, let me know. But the basic premise there is that you're watching a horror movie, because horror fans all have friends that are not into horror, and so that puts us in a predicament, because sometimes you could have a friend walk in and there could be a really, really awkward scene and your friend might judge you. Your friend might be like, what the fuck are you watching? It could be a really awkward, you might lose that friend. I hope not, or it could not, it might not just be a friend. It could be a family member. That's why I said your aunt. It's usually your aunt, right? And your aunt's just like, what the hell is this? And you just squirm. You're like, oh my God, this is embarrassing, And you could be watching like the worst freaking horror movie possibly imaginable, And so you feel, you don't care. You like what you like, but you feel judged, right? So I came up with a list. I did go on Killer Flicks, and I posted a question on Killer Flicks. But there are freaking tons of these movies that have scenes like this. I'm seeing some right now. Basic Instinct, great example. Oh my God. There's a few scenes in that movie that you don't want anybody walking in on. Zombievers, great one. I just reviewed Zombievers. That's when the human beaver bites his junk off. That's a great scene. That's a great one that you might not want Aunt Maggie to walk in on, right? So, yeah. So it's kind of a fun idea, right? It's like, it's embarrassing in the moment, but then later you'll have a story that you can tell people. Tell your horror friends, right? So, Monsters Ball, another really good example. So, Piranha 3D, yeah, there's tons of them. It could be a really weird, violent scene. Like, I'll give you an example off the top of my head that I didn't put on the list. Is Just Before Dawn. I think it's Just Before Dawn. Yeah, there's a couple scenes in that movie that I'd feel a little awkward if somebody walked in on. When she punches in the guy's mouth all the way down to the elbow. That's a weird scene for somebody to walk in on. And then when the guy gets a machete through his junk out his ass. What the fuck are you watching? I literally had a moment like that. I was watching Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 in the theater. Empty theater next to my wife and my niece. Talk about awkward. And especially because my niece, oh my God, that was weird. And I look over and my wife is asleep and my niece looked like she was going to need therapy after. Rob Zombie does not hold, I like pretty much all the way through his movies are going to be like kind of awkward, right? So anyway, let's get into the list. All right. Speaking of Rob Zombie, I think it's a good way to start off the scene in The Devil's Rejects in the hotel. I mean, the whole movie's got tons of awkward moments, but that scene right there in the hotel, that takes the cake. If somebody comes in the room in the middle of that scene, you want to jump out a window. I don't want to be anywhere near anybody when that scene comes on. It's a really graphic scene. You got Otis taking advantage of this nice lady, and it's not like a young 20-something cutie. No, this is like a mom. She's like a mom, like a very respectable mom type character that she will bake you cookies. So it's almost like your aunt is inserted in this movie. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that's kind of what it's like. So yeah, that's just not a scene I want to be watching when, a relative or a friend that's not into, or maybe a first date, right? Like you want to be on your best behavior on your, like say you had your first date and then things are going good. She's not really into horror that much though. and then you invite her over to your place, and she happens to get there early, and she sees this scene. Not a good situation to be in, if I'm being honest. So yeah. And you could also, I could fill this with Rob Zombie movie. Every one of his movies. The scene in, the director's cut of Rob Zombie's Halloween, when he breaks out. Infinity Pool. Destiny posted this one on Killer Flicks, and I agree. There's definitely some awkward scenes in this movie. There's some like graphic sex scenes. Now there's one scene where it's that scene. They're sitting at the beach, and there's two couples, right? And he's not with her. And so then he walks away, and he's standing away from everybody. So this girl, who's not his girlfriend, walks over to him, stands behind him, and I'll just say she pleasures him. And his girlfriend's just right over there. And it's an awkward scene. But even if he didn't have a girlfriend, it's an awkward predicament to be in with a stranger, and if a friend or relative walks in, yeah, you get the idea. It's just a really strange scene. Okay. Next one. There's a good one right there. I think you could pretty much insert most sex scenes in here. Like somebody mentioned the Terminator, the Terminator is pretty much a straight-laced, it's rated R, but I think anybody could watch the Terminator. It's not the most graphic. It's got some graphic violence in it, but it's not like aside from that one scene, which is very, it's a very important scene in the movie. It has to be there. But somebody on Killer Flicks said the scene feels like if somebody's in the room that you don't want to be in there, then that scene's going to feel like forever. And I kind of agree with him. Okay. It's a great love scene. It is like, if I did like top 10 love scenes, the Terminator love scene is, it's up there. It's one of the best. It was awkward for them too, because they were ex-boyfriend and girlfriend, they had broken up, messy breakup. And they were both actors, and they didn't expect to get in this movie together, having to have a sex scene in a tent. And I'd say, as far as like all the Friday movies go, this might be the most explicit sex scene. Friday's not really known for it really explicit, but it has a couple of them in the franchise. It does. Usually they just, it's quick, they get it over with, and then they move on, right? Oh my God, Sir Drop Bear. Antichrist. Whew. Man, not just the opening scene. There's a freaking scene in that movie near the last act that, woof. I don't even want to say it out loud. I'm embarrassed for you guys to hear it. It's that bad. If you've seen Antichrist, then you know exactly the scene I'm talking about. Okay? But, woof. It's about grieving and this husband and wife. And the wife kind of goes crazy because she's out in the woods, because the woods make you crazy. And then she starts mutilating her own body. I'll just say that, okay? And it's not a good movie for children's parties, okay? I'll put it that way. All right? But yeah, Jason Goes to Hell. Really awkward scene with some uninvited company. All right? Here we go. Some of you might not know what this scene is. Guys, tell me, what movie is this from? All right? What movie is this from? Okay? I specifically picked this scene from this movie because I can just imagine somebody walking in when this scene happens. Porkies, and there's a couple scenes in Porkies that you could easily pick. This is the movie that I used to sneak down the hallway and peek my head to watch it. I wanted to watch Porky's so bad when I was young, for obvious reasons. The legend of Porky's. I'd hear about it in elementary school from my friends. Oh my God, have you seen Porky's? Oh man, you are in for a treat. That's what I would hear from my friends at school. But the scene in question, though, you don't want anybody walking in, is this character played by Kim Cattrall, and they call her Lassie. She's the cheerleading coach, I think. Is she the cheerleading coach? I can't remember. She's got a whistle on, so she's a coach of some kind. But this, this guy, one of the teachers, his fellow teachers tell him, they call her Lassie, but they won't tell him why. But they're like, if you get with her, you'll know why. And so, the entire freaking school hears her moaning. And the scene goes on for quite a while too, and everybody's just like roaring, laughing. All the teachers and everything. But it's like your base level raunchy humor, and it just works. It's just the best. I love Porkies so much. I don't remember the next day, and then Porky's Revenge. I need to go watch those again. Miss Honeywell, thank you very much. Honeywell, perfect name for her. Okay. All right. Next one. Last American Virgin. This is a movie I used to watch all the time growing up as a kid. I think it used to come on HBO. You had this. You had freaking Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Back in the 80s, they were, Mischief. They were making tons of these really raunchy comedies, but there was substance there. It's like these days you can't have one or the other. It's got to be separate for some reason. They got to be either raunchy and stupid, or there's substance, but it's not a full-on comedy. Back then, you had great writers, and they could do both. They could have really funny, raunchy scenes in 1 minute, and then the next minute you got a great life lesson about relationships and not always getting what you want. Pining for this girl, and he wants her so bad, but she's just not into him. She wants the bad boy, and then you got Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That's talking about heavy themes like abortion and whatnot, and every character had their own great little story going on. And I'm starting to think we'll never have comedies like that ever again. That was just confined to the 80s. I don't know. Maybe it was just in the head of writers at that time. They had these great stories that they could tell. But yeah. I hope I didn't spoil the ending. But there's a lot going on in this movie. It's The Last American Virgin. If you haven't seen it, I think it was Vestron, Beth, that put out a great freaking Blu-ray. Actually, here you go. I have it right here. On my horror shelf, for some reason, I have Last American Virgin. As soon as this was announced, I jumped all over it. It is MGM MVD. I'm trying to think. Wasn't there a company that put this out, though? I can't remember. But, yeah, so good. So good. By the way, there's so many raunchy scenes in this movie, though. Like, it really goes for it. And there's like one scene with this Latin woman that's like in her, I think she might be 40s or something like that. And these are teenagers, and they're taking turns getting with her. And it's definitely an awkward scene. It's probably one of the most awkward scenes on this countdown. All right, next one, My Bloody Valentine. I talked about this earlier, and I think this scene right here, I got to give massive credit to Todd Farmer and team for this movie, because this came out in a time where they didn't have as much nudity in slasher movies back in like the 2000s. 2009 is when this came out. But then you had this and Friday the 13th remake, both doubling down hard on the nudity, trying to honor the past and get a little crazy. I mean, this even has a little person kill in it. So I like that they were definitely inspired by a lot of the more zany kills and nudity from the 80s. And this scene, I mean, she's naked the entire scene. Like, it starts off with a sex scene, and then they get into a fight, and then the guy walks away. That's Todd Farmer, by the way. And she's following him completely naked, and they show everything. And this is the one scene that is perfect for this countdown. Perfect. Okay? But yeah, I hope she got paid well because, damn, she had to earn her money for this movie. Oh my God. Midamar definitely that's one of those movies that it progressively gets more and more weird in true A24 fashion. Like, this might be the most A24 horror movie that they've ever put out because it just has that vibe to it. And the bear scene in the final act, I just remember I saw this in the theater, and I was just like, oh damn, okay, that's happening now. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty insane. Okay, and I like that though. I think we need movies that get crazy like that sometimes. You know what? In a recent movie that I could have put on here is Saltburn. Because Saltburn has at least 4 scenes like that could easily go on this countdown that are really like, what the fuck? You know? Like, wow. Yeah, Saltburn. Woof. Awkward as hell, but really great movie. But wow. Insane. Okay. Next one. And I'm not going to lie, I saw this photo years and years ago. In this very type subject, it was a meme. When your mom walks in while you're watching, the joke was people always walk in at the worst time when you're watching movies. They always walk in at the absolute worst time. And every single time I've watched Nightmare 3 and somebody comes in the room, that scene comes on. And I'm just like, oh, Jesus. Yeah, it's that scene that you're like, when it comes on, you're like looking around, I just want to make sure nobody sees this, okay? Because, yeah. The apple pie banging scene in American Pie. Thank you, Danny. Danny, you win the prize. That might take the cake. And what's great about American Pie is there were 2 versions. There was a director's cut. They had an alternate take. One of them, he's standing up having sex with the pie. And then the other one, he's laying down on the table having sex with the pie. I don't know which one's more offensive, But I like that they gave you two options there, right? Since we're talking about really wild special features and director's cuts and whatever, one of the most unique and insane special features I've ever seen on a DVD. DVD always had like great special features, and they stopped doing it like with 4K. But I think it was the White Castle movie. I think it was where they had like a topless party. Like they went to the topless party, and everybody's topless at the party. There was a special feature where you could click a button, and the entire scene goes from topless to bottomless. So they filmed the scene twice for 2 different versions of the scene. I thought, you know what? I got to give them credit. That's pretty ambitious. A bottomless party. Clerks 2, Kinky Kelly and the Sexy Set. Yeah, that's a good one too. That's definitely a good one. Clerks always has some really awkward scenes in there. The first one too. Okay. Next one. Trash from Return of the Living Dead. When she goes up on that tombstone, you almost do a double take. Like, wait, what is she? Whoa, she's real. Yeah. Okay. And it's one of those weird scenes. If you got a friend and hey, have you ever seen Return of the Living Dead? And you're not really into horror. Hey, cop a squat. Let's check it out. You're going to like this movie. When that scene comes on, then it gets a little awkward. Then it gets a little weird. Okay? Trash is taking off her clothes again. Okay. 2 more. You got to have Stupendous on here. Despite my constant complaints about the remake of Friday, even though I do watch it. I watch it quite often. This is a sex scene that really goes for it, and I think it's comedic. Like, it's almost hilarious how hard it's like they're trying so hard. And I have questions about this scene because I wonder, was it intentional was it intentional to be this silly and funny, or were they actually trying to pretty much honor the nudity from the past and modernize it? But did they plan on it being that hilarious? Because the scene's hilarious. You know, don't get me wrong, beautiful young lady, but it's just, I think Trent makes the scene really funny because it's just like, who does that? Like he's literally giving like a monologue as he's having sex with her. He doesn't seem like he's enjoying it like a normal person would enjoy the act, right? He's got to give you like a sportsman play-by-play as he's doing it, and I think that's what makes the scene so hilarious. But if you brought somebody in that had never seen a Friday movie before, and this is the first one, I want to show you a Friday the 13th movie. When this scene comes on, it might get a little weird. Okay? And last one. Is it the last one? Yeah, last one. Somebody brought this up on Killer Flicks. Can anybody tell me what that is? I'm going to tell you. Wrong Turn 6. And I reviewed the series kind of backwards, even though because I reviewed the remake when it came out, you know, but I'd never reviewed the entire series, but I did review the first one. So I kind of got in a Wrong Turn mood after watching the remake, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go back and I'm going to review the entire franchise. But I wanted to kind of do it backwards because I do that sometimes, and I started with 6, and what a weird way to start, because I was like, what is this franchise? What did it turn into? Because the entire movie is pretty much softcore porn. Yeah, I mean, there are, it's like, Skinamax, like Cinemax back in the day, they'd have these erotic movies, erotic thrillers or whatever, and they'd literally have a sex scene like every 15 minutes. And that's pretty much what they do with Wrong Turn 6. It's a sex scene. So if you're really in the mood for sex scenes in movies, then you're going to really like this movie. But if you're just wanting a Wrong Turn movie, you're going to be like, what the fuck is going on? This is weird. And yeah, so my favorite Wrong Turn movie is 4, by the way, after I went back. Although I haven't seen 2 yet. I still got to review 2. But yeah, this is a good one for the countdown, okay? There was no particular order in these, okay? But it was fun. It was fun going down this list and talking about these crazy movies. Again, just a spur of the moment idea that I had. People, it's fun to talk about movies that get a little weird. And yeah, Polly, I still haven't reviewed 2 yet. I need to, but yeah. What's up, guys? You are at the end of the DD Live clip. What I do is I like to clip these out if I think the topic is important or something that's newsworthy. So thank you for watching. And if you want to watch more, you can go over here. You can go over here, click on one of those. And hopefully I can do this for 20 seconds, which I think I did. Okay, so yeah, thanks for watching, guys.